Alright, let's dive into something that's been flying under the radar but is actually a pretty big deal: Greece's race against the clock to secure billions in EU funding. Here's the deal: the Ministry of National Economy is in overdrive this August, trying to hit the final milestones for the EU's Recovery and Resilience Facility, RRF. Why does this matter? Well, we're talking about €6.7 billion on the line here, part of a massive €35.95 billion package that Greece has been working to unlock since 2021. Personally, I think this is a fascinating test of a country's ability to execute on a grand scale. It's not just about the money, it's about whether Greece can deliver on the reforms and investments it promised. And let's be real, with the RRF expiring in 2026, time is ticking. What makes this really interesting is the sheer complexity of the milestones. We're not just talking about paperwork, though there's plenty of that. Among the 123 milestones, some of the toughest involve construction projects, like repairing infrastructure damaged by Storm Daniel and building Crete's northern road axis. These aren't small tasks. They're massive, tangible projects that could reshape parts of the country. But here's the kicker: these projects are also the most prone to delays. Construction is always a wild card, and when you add in the pressure of EU deadlines, it's a recipe for stress. From my perspective, this is where the rubber meets the road. Can Greece pull it off without sacrificing quality? One thing that immediately stands out is the Hellenic Development Bank's role in all this. They've secured €2 billion in loans for SMEs, which is huge. If lending starts by the end of September, it could be a game changer for small businesses. But what many people don't realize is that this isn't just about handing out money. It's about creating a sustainable ecosystem for growth. If you take a step back and think about it, this is where the RRF's success or failure will really be felt, not in the big infrastructure projects, but in the day-to-day operations of businesses across Greece. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Has the RRF actually moved the needle for Greece? Economists are split. Some argue it hasn't fundamentally changed the country's production model or boosted productivity. Critics point to flaws in the planning and implementation. Personally, I think there's some truth to both sides. On one hand, €35.95 billion is a massive injection of capital, and it's hard to imagine it not having some impact. On the other hand, systemic change takes time, way more than the 5 years the RRF has been around. What this really suggests is that the RRF might be a stepping stone, not a silver bullet. Here's where it gets even more intriguing: what happens when the RRF money dries up? We're looking at a steep drop in funding from €16.7 billion in 2026 to €10.6 billion in 2027. That's a huge gap. In my opinion, this is the real challenge. Greece needs to find a way to sustain the momentum, and that's easier said than done. This raises a deeper question: can the country attract private investment or find other sources of funding to keep the growth engine running? Or will it fall back into old patterns? A detail I find fascinating is how this all ties into Greece's broader economic narrative. For years, the country has been trying to shake off the stigma of the 2010s debt crisis. The RRF was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to rebuild and modernize. But as the program winds down, it feels like Greece is at another crossroads. Will this be remembered as a turning point, or just another missed opportunity? Personally, I think the next few years will be decisive. The RRF might be ending, but the story it's telling is far from over. So, here's my closing thought: Greece's race to complete these milestones isn't just about hitting deadlines or securing funds. It's about proving that the country can deliver on its promises and build a more resilient future. Whether you're bullish or bearish on Greece's prospects, one thing's for sure: this is a story worth watching. What do you think? Is Greece on the right track, or are there too many hurdles ahead? Let me know in the comments below.